Welcome to another episode, a thankful episode of the best podcast out right now, the Southern Comfort Podcast. I am Big Rich,
Kevin Harris.
and we are your boys of Maroon Bison. Kev, this is our Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day episode.
It is. It's the beginning of my favorite time of year. And I especially, since coming to Florida, this is definitely like my favorite time of year in Florida.
I mean, but were we there? Were we down there? We were down there for what? Christmas, weren't we? I believe we were.
Um,
But the difference in Florida and
hmm.
Christmas, you don't get it's a different kind of vibe, right?
It's a Florida Christmas. So I love it because it's not really raining. There's no humidity. And so you can literally just be outside and just really enjoy it. And I spent a lot of time at the beach this time of year. Just kind of going and sitting and hanging out and relaxing. But it is, it's weird to have a Christmas tree and there's a palm tree behind it, so that part takes some getting used to. But I love it. It's relaxation. This is usually when work kind of, uh chills out a
Guys,
little bit. Yeah,
right.
you can just kind of like relax and just hang out, and it's just very casual and very chill. So I love it.
So yeah, I do agree, especially since we've been in this career, right? Election day is the first week of November,
Mm-hmm.
and then you spend like the 2 weeks like doing debriefs and getting stuff together. And usually at this time I've checked out. I don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this was, I would say, um after Obama's reelect in 2012 was when I first started watching The West Wing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I binge watched it right after the election, all the way up to his inauguration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's when I fell in love with it. So like right now
Yeah.
I'm in this real relaxed mode, but not really. You and I, we got more clients we're about to pick up, and
We do. We got some folks in runoffs.
right,
And then I got a special election in Michigan, and that's weird because I was talking about that today, and ballots start going out to people like on Christmas Day,
right,
which is
right.
super weird. So not completely done. And it's funny you say that about like the West Wing. See, I only saw the West Wing like the last couple episodes when it was on TV. And I remember watching that and thinking like, how did I not know about this show? Like this show was on like 6, 7 seasons and I never got into it. I saw the last couple episodes. I was like, this is incredible. And so I remember, this is back, DVDs and, had no money and just kind of scraping it together to go buy all the seasons of the West
Wow,
Wings.
wow,
And I
wow.
still have them. I still have every season of the West Wing on DVD. And even to this day, if I'm just kind of like hanging out and I just kind of want something on TV, I still pull up old episodes of The West Wing and just watch the whole show. I'm never not watching. I'm always watching the show.
Yeah, I typically rewatch it after every election cycle.
Yeah.
And I was telling my wife, we find shows to watch while we fall asleep.
Yeah.
And The West Wing was one of those shows. Now it's Law and Order, but
Mm.
and every time you watch it, you say, "Damn, this shit is happening now," or right, like, ugh.
Yeah.
Even
The parallels.
when I conduct trainings, in the beginning while people are coming in, I have an episode of The West
Mm.
Wing playing and they
Hmm.
come in and sit down and they just watch it. So I mean, I love it. I mean, it's
And it's the parallels between that last season and the 2008 campaign, right? There was a lot of all the way to like Arnie Vinnick becomes Secretary of State. Well, who became Barack Obama's Secretary of State?
right,
Hillary Clinton, one of his
right.
his main rivals, running against like a moderate Republican that could win like a Western state. Well, that was John McCain. But all of this happened, right? Matt Santos, historic campaign, right? Barack Obama, historic campaign. But guys, all of this happened. The show happened before real life, but
Yeah.
there's so many parallels. And the other thing I love about the West Wing too is that like people always want to know what's it like to work in the White House. Well, the West Wing is the closest show you're gonna get to what it's like actually like, right? Like my wife doesn't like to watch certain shows with me, especially about politics, because I'm always like, that ain't gonna happen. That's not how that happened. Because like Scandal, I love the early
Oh,
episodes of Scandal
yes,
when it
yes.
was when it was like she was actually like doing cases
Solving
and stuff.
cases,
But
solving
then once
cases.
it got into her and Fitz, I didn't really like it as much. But just crazy shit like I'm gonna call the president. No, you're not. That's not a thing.
It's never
That's
gonna
not
happen.
a thing, actually. You don't. You don't just now this one probably, but that's not a thing. And like you've heard the stories about like Barack Obama and Kamala Harris as examples talking about like how they didn't have cell phones. Or Barack Obama, Michelle Obama used to make
Kept his
fun of
BlackBerry.
his phone because he could only have like 5 numbers in it, and like you could text him but he couldn't text you, like all kinds of crazy stuff. But if you really want to know what it's like, what's the most accurate portrayal, it is the West Wing, and it's just little stuff like I would watch the show and I would see where they were walking, and I'm like, that's not even a room. That take you outside in the real White House. That's not how you even get there. But I love that
We
show
look, we could nerd out about this all episode, right?
all day.
But before we get into heavy politics, I started out by saying, right, it's Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
What are you most looking forward to on food wise for Thanksgiving?
Oh, food wise, it is actually the turkey. My wife, she makes her own brine,
Mm.
and she brines her turkey, I want to say for 72 hours before Thanksgiving. And I became like a fried turkey person, and I was like, well, nothing can compete with like a fried turkey. But hers is so juicy and like perfect and like everything because of that brine and stuff that's on it, that you don't even notice. It's good, it's flavorful. So definitely that turkey. And like I said, she brines that bad boy. She makes her own brine, brines that bad boy for 72 hours.
Mm. Well, this will be our second Thanksgiving together as a married couple.
Mm-hmm.
We use Thanksgiving as our like I think the one holiday that we try to organize like a gathering around, and we try to open our doors up for
Mm-hmm.
everybody to come. Last year we did it down in St. Simon's Island, found this nice compound. This year we're going to stay local, keep it in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
My parents have they're getting old, long in the tooth, and some drives they don't want to make, and just
Mm-hmm.
want
Yeah.
to keep it here, keep it local.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be our Orr and Richard's second annual Thanksgiving gathering.
Yeah.
But her father, for a white guy, he can cook, right?
So Secchi's,
You know,
most interesting man,
the most interesting man.
the most interesting man in the world.
He makes stuffing,
Mhm,
and typically stuffing comes in a one sheet pan. His
mhm,
doesn't, and I like his
mhm,
unique spin on it. He
mhm,
does them like cornbread muffins.
mm,
He makes individual
mm,
stuffing muffins.
mm,
So it's like you're getting a corner piece and a middle
mm,
piece all at once.
all at once, yeah.
Oof, and it's good. It is good.
Now, see, I've heard about this legendary stuff, and I want to try it, and I've been invited. Richard has invited me to Thanksgiving on multiple occasions here, but
Open invite.
I've not made it yet, but I definitely want to try that. Because every time you described it to me, it sounds incredible.
He does that, and then he does these Wellingtons. Wellington
Yes, yes.
is typically it's like a pastry wrapped around
Mm,
a beef of sort,
mhm, mhm, mhm,
and it has like a layer of mushroom. Well, his Wellingtons are different. They're vegetarian Wellingtons,
mm.
and usually it was squash and mushrooms and goat cheese. But I don't, me and you don't do mushrooms,
No, I don't.
and I'm not a big goat cheese person.
Mhm, mhm.
But he decided to craft one special for me,
Hmm,
this Thanksgiving,
mhm.
and it's spinach and feta.
Yeah,
Man, you talk
yeah,
about bussing,
yeah. That definitely I would be into.
bussing. So, yeah, man, we gotta
Yeah, you know.
um,
Now,
but
one other thing though that is my favorite is, and I got a little bit of it on my cup in my cup right now.
oh, your
And
special
that's
drink.
that's my special drink. So I have Southern Comfort eggnog.
Mhm.
It's 2.5 shots of Woodford cinnamon and vanilla extract. It's delicious.
It sounds good. I can't do the eggnog, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. But it's good.
It don't I think they got some, uh, I think there is some oat milk or almond milk eggnog out there.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe, but I
Yeah,
still, whatever.
I love it.
Um, so yeah, man, you know, you like the turkey. I love turkey. I
Mhm.
love it after the next day and make a little turkey
Mhm.
sandwich.
Mhm.
But since we're on the topic of turkeys, you know, let's talk about the biggest turkey in American politics.
Mhm.
You know, your boy El Cheeto, El Presidente, Don Juan, the big turkey himself, Donald Trump. And I guess, in most Southern families, one of the favorite side dishes just announced that she'll no longer be at the table. And that's Marjorie Taylor Hold the Greens. No greens, right? She's out, right? And I think I want to start there, bro.
Mhm.
You know, we're gonna talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her exit stage left from politics,
Mhm.
so to
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
She released a statement Friday saying that going into 2026, January 5th or January 6th, she will resign from office,
Mhm.
and it caught a lot of people by surprise. But your girl AOC,
Mhm.
Jasmine Crockett, they had some choice words for her.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Well, I thought I think a lot of people so what AOC in particular did, and I don't know if she was the first person to point this out, but certainly one of the more effective is, she pointed out, she questioned the timing. And in January, it's like, well, why not resign now? Why are you waiting till January? Well, in January, is when her Marjorie Taylor Greene's pension will kick in, and I'll read the full Twitter statement. Well, it was an Instagram story, but AOC said about Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's carefully timing her departure just 1 to 2 days after her pension kicks in, and after making millions of dollars insider trading stocks for weapons manufacturers and others while in office. She is saying a lot, but her actions have not backed up the rhetoric. For all her talk, she's still voting with them to gut healthcare and advance self-dealing corruption schemes. And so Democrats are not kind of, giving her a pass at all here. So, it would appear that a lot of the goodwill from her work around the Epstein files is over. And we're kind of back, kind of taking shots at her. But, it did catch some people by surprise. There was some question if, Trump were going to get involved, if a primary challenge could, she could survive that. And then there's also, speculation now that perhaps this is a play to maybe run for statewide office. I think all of that is possible. I think it's possible she could. I think there's still time for her to even get in and on the governor's race.
Absolutely.
In Georgia, she was looking to want to mount a statewide bid anyway. But I also think there's a chance here too, man, where like she might do like a Palin, like a Sarah Palin. Like remember how, Sarah Palin ran with McCain, they lost. It was still like a lot of energy around her after that campaign, even though she definitely had some flame out moments. And then it just kind of seemed like she kind of liked the attention and she liked the celebrity of it. And she just kind of went and got her bag and just got some money. So I could also see Marjorie Taylor Greene just kind of doing that too, becoming like this little media darling and not really running again and just cashing out on that congressional pension.
Well, pension plus what she bankrolled while she was in Congress, right? Right. She's sitting on a nice little fat knot. And I think what's also interesting is how over the last, 4 or 5 days, Trump has blasted her right in the media and then kind of tried to walk it back a little bit. When asked his thoughts on it, one, she didn't even give him a heads up that she was doing it, right?
Mm-mm.
One of his most loyal people, right, who's been defending him, been by his side, been his biggest advocate. Didn't even
Mhm.
give him a heads up as he's doing it.
Mhm.
And he basically said it doesn't matter. When someone asked him, what does he think about it? He's like, it doesn't matter, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And wished her hopes that she was happy. I think the other thing when you think about it, who's now going to run and be one of his staunch advocates now, right? Like, who's going to step up to the plate and kind of defend him or lie for him, and be like his cheerleader on the hill, because I honestly think that his star is dying out, right? Like, folks realize that he's not on the ballot in 2026. Those Republicans who are on the ballot in 2026 need to find some way to kind of find or redevelop the trust in their constituents and the American people, and possibly
Mhm.
even donors,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
To help keep them afloat if they want to stay in office. Uh, and I think the other thing we need to think about is, right, the Republicans need to look towards 2028 and who is going to be their person to possibly continue to carry that MAGA flag. And I think it's interesting enough, right? We don't know what Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to do.
Mhm.
But like the ball's in her court right now.
Mhm.
Even though the news cycle has kind of died out for her, right?
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
announcement was there, and we'll see over the next couple of days, people won't be talking about it as much. And so she's going to have to find some way going into the holidays to keep her name afloat in the press and even strong in the MAGA community. So,
Yeah.
what was interesting enough, Ora and I and her parents, I took them to Rome, her district, this weekend. So that Saturday morning, we drove up to Rome, and it's a beautiful small town, great
Mhm.
town, lovely, some of the nicest people out there. They have one of the most dedicated and strong AKA chapters in Rome, by the way. Yes, yes.
Mm.
They're heavily involved in politics.
Mhm.
We just thought it would be nice to go to North Georgia, and it's like nothing even happened,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Um, and perhaps that's a part of it, right? Like maybe because a lot of times what happens with people like a Marjorie Taylor Greene is there's a difference between the public perception of them from a national audience and what's really happening in your district, right? And it could be that she sensed something as well that like I don't, I might have kind of already lost my district. And maybe this is how I kind of get ahead of a potential loss or defeat, right? Particularly after, kind of going against Trump, right? With Epstein. So maybe some of that, like you say, like people are kind of like whatever, like maybe that's part of it too. Maybe the district had already kind of moved on and we're looking for other folks. And the last time I felt something like that and saw something like that, it was after the January 6th committee, and I was in Wyoming, and I was in Liz Cheney's district, and I was just kind of talking to some Republicans on the ground, just talking to them, just trying to kind of get their sense of things, and they were done even before January 6th. But she's being lauded, nationally, right? As this sort of like hero of democracy. You think like, but that's national. In her district, they were like, we're good. Like,
Yeah.
and so I think some of that could have been at play for her. And if that's the case, then to me, it would kind of push me back to, I don't know that she's going to run for anything else. I think it might just be like a Palin thing where she's just going to like, you know what, I'll just kind of become this little media darling and make some money.
Well, I think, again, to your point, she, in her announcement, she talked about how she started trying to fight the establishment and talking about what her district cared about, the healthcare,
Yeah.
affordability.
Yeah.
And it's rather funny, right? Again, people are starting to point out, well, she didn't care about those things when she was voting against them while she was in office, right?
I don't know that she's ever, I mean, maybe it would be recent, right? But I don't know, but certainly 98% of her career were votes to take away healthcare. They were not votes to help with these premiums. And Georgia is one of the uh heaviest states in terms of people who
Uh-huh.
benefit from the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. And, and one of the things that, we should clarify that people are talking about, this healthcare fact that we're talking about is that, so there's the Affordable Care Act. People get subsidies to help them be able to buy healthcare off of the exchange. Those subsidies are what make the healthcare affordable.
Uh-huh.
Joe Biden in 2021, like put a significantly more money in those subsidies. So you get way more money now than you used to get, right, for it. What we're talking about today, what the Democrats are fighting over is that money that Joe Biden put in, they want to keep it. But if it expires, then it just goes back to what was there when we first passed Obamacare in 2010. But y'all know how the economy works, right? Most things don't cost the same thing that they costed 15 years ago.
Right.
So we don't want to go back to 15 years ago money. We want money right now to match what things cost now. And that's what the Democrats are fighting over. So it's not that people won't get subsidies at all. It's just that you ain't going to get the subsidies that Joe Biden gave you.
Hmm. So yeah, I just wonder because she's changed her tone in the last, what, 60 days?
I mean, I don't even know if it's been that long, brother. I
Well,
think I think it really might, maybe 40, 45,
40, I
maybe.
mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's
it, w-
recent.
it
It's
went from
recent.
Epstein files to actually trying to talk about kitchen table issues and actually saying, well, my constituents care about healthcare. They care about affordability. They care, about the bills they have to pay and the economic issues that they're facing.
Hmm.
Um, so now that you're doing this and you say this is what they care about, but now you decide to retreat and not stay into the fight. When it's tough, when things are getting tough, now that you're beefing with your boo thing Trump, right? And he throws a couple of jabs at you, and you're like, whoa, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm leaving, right? So did you ever really care about them in the first place? And the
Mm.
other question you ask yourself is, how strong is MAGA really if one of its biggest cheerleaders, one of its biggest captains in the MAGA army got slapped around a couple of times and now it's like, I can't be a part of this. I don't like what's going on. So it raises the question again, how can Democrats capitalize on this and take over? And I think it kind of leads us into the next phase of what I want to talk about, because we don't need to spend too much time on not having greens at the table with the turkey. um, my good friend, our good friend, Doug Jones.
Hmm.
He said he's back. He said he wants a rematch. This is what's the game called? Auburn versus Alabama.
You mean the Iron Bowl?
Iron Bowl. This is
Yeah.
Iron Bowl Part 2, right?
Hmm.
The rematch between him and Tommy Tuberville,
Hmm.
probably probably one of the second dumbest people I've ever seen. That's what I said it. I said it. Um, on the Hill, right? Like Tuberville, Senator Tuberville, who beat Doug Jones in what was it, 2022,
2020.
2020?
Hmm.
He beat Doug Jones to take over the seat that Doug won in 2017 in that special election that caught
Hmm.
everybody by surprise. Um, but now he's announced that he's running for governor.
It didn't catch you by surprise.
Well, no, well, that's the reason why I was there. You know,
I mean, I, you got me. I mean, it was my home state, but you got me really excited about it. I was just going there because I just wanted to help out because it was home and because you was there, leading the effort. But hell, I didn't think we was gonna win at 17, my damn self.
you know, I didn't think that we were going to win until um, probably right before Thanksgiving, right? So again, it was a 12-week race. It was a special election. We had 12 weeks to redesign it, and so we spent the first 4 weeks, the rest of October at the Randall's race, trying to pull things together and restructure everything and train new staff and redevelop them and
Hmm.
buy into a plan. But it was probably the week before Thanksgiving where I realized, you got man, there's some shit going on here. But you know, I mean, I look back and that's probably one of my favorite races ever to be a part of. It was small, it was mighty, but we got shit together, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, nothing like it had happened in our lifetime in Alabama. I'm 41 years old, and with the exception, I guess maybe Richard Shelby used to be a former senator of Alabama. He was a Democrat, and then became a Republican. So maybe there was some overlap in my lifetime while he was still a Democrat. But I'm 41 years old, and for the overwhelming majority of my life, right, I only lived under Republican senators,
Right.
right? And so, but for this one beautiful period, right, there was Doug Jones who broke through in a special election, won his Senate race and got to finish a term. So he got about 3 years in the Senate, and then 2020 came, and he lost his bid for reelection. And a lot of people, say, well, was it worth it? And for me, like, absolutely. Doug was an excellent senator for the 3 years that he was there. And
Absolutely.
he represented Alabama. His votes were not Democrat or Republican. His votes were about
Alabama.
Alabama. And he was a great senator, got some things done and got some consequential things done that if we hadn't had him there would not have happened, not just for Alabama, but for the country. And he lost to Tuberville in 2020. And for folks that don't know, Tuberville is he's the current senator, but he used to also be head coach of Auburn. And I tell people, it's kind of hard to run against a college football coach in Alabama and win. But Doug's gonna sign up. He's gonna do it again, but this time he's gonna do it in the governor's race. So it looks like there'll be a rematch.
Right. And I think, and for folks, both a Senate race is a statewide race, but it's different when it's a governor's race, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
painting the picture for how we won in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like think of the things that you had working for you and against you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Special election, you had Trump, who was still popular, but what we had in our favor was his opponent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Roy Moore, who was a judge, Alabama Supreme Court judge, Chief
Mm-hmm.
Justice,
Mm-hmm.
um, had scandals surrounding his name. He was allegedly allegations of him having inappropriate conduct with minors, right? And so, um,
Wasn't alleged.
I mean, he's still walking free. He's not been locked up. So,
I guess unaccountable, but not alleged, ill alleged. Anyway.
but that
Hmm.
scandal made what have should have been an impossible race for a Democrat suddenly competitive, right?
Hmm.
And we put together an incredible coalition, right? Like
Hmm.
we maximize black voter turnout. It wasn't just black women; it was black women and black men, right?
Hmm.
He won over moderates who couldn't bring themselves uh, to cast their ballot for a
A
pedophile.
pedophile. Hmm.
But like in that craziness, he only won by like 2%, right? Like 21,000 votes, right? In a state that previously Trump had won by like 28 points. And so
Right.
it 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 just goes to show you, right? Like, and it's funny. Shout out to me. I'm about to make a reference about how the Cowboys beat the Eagles last
Oh.
week.
Oh.
And the coach said, "Do you win a game in the first quarter? No. Do you win it in the second quarter? No. We got down by 21 points going into the third. Do you win it there? No. When do you win the game? The fourth quarter, right? Like, so you play it throughout the entirety, right? And that's what we did on that campaign. We
Hmm.
played it out through its entirety, through all the controversy, the bad press hits, the positive press hits, the snowstorms, this, that, and the third, right? It's all about your circumstances and if you have the right candidate. And what I would tell people is Doug Jones a real thing? I mean, here you got a white man who decided to bring charges against the KKK in
Hmm.
Alabama for
Hmm.
killing black girls.
Hmm. Hmm. And he talked about, he would talk about how, he had Klan in his family.
And he said it
Yeah.
proudly,
And said proudly, like, yeah, and I prosecuted him.
and I prosecuted
And
him.
I prosecuted him.
And so
Yeah.
that narrative alone um, started to send shockwaves through American politics, right?
Mhm.
Democrats can win anywhere. They just need the right candidate and the right circumstances. And I think here again, because of the benefit of Trump and what he's done, it just might be that right circumstance for a rematch for folks to see you've had this, idiot over here in Tuberville and how he represented, and
Mhm.
life under me was not so bad.
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
And you know, the other thing too, like the state is a little bit different now, right? Than it was when Doug was last on the ballot, right? And Alabama generally, right? There's a lot of the South, right, has changed, right? Like Georgia, right, has become more ideologically and racially diverse, right? And economically diverse. North Carolina is another one. Virginia is another one. Alabama has sort of lagged behind those states, but it is still changing, right? And the electorate is changing. And with that change gives Democrats some opportunities, right? Like we now have two congressional seats, right? You have Congressman Figures, Shamari Figures, right? And you now have Congresswoman Terry Sewell. It used to just be that Terry Sewell's seat was the only Democratic seat. We now have two. Um, Three of the five largest cities, right, are represented by Black Democrats, right? There was almost four. You know, unfortunately, we did some work on the Mobile mayor's race, and we lost that race, but it was very close, right? And then you have that Huntsville, that North Alabama region, where you got engineers, higher income, higher educated. You got a growing Asian population, right? It's growing. And it used to be, and you know this, you know, from Doug's race, like you wanted to win a statewide race in Alabama, it was Terry Sewell's congressional district, and then you just needed three counties. You needed Mobile County,
Lee
Lee
County.
County, and then you needed Madison County, where Huntsville is. And so you look at how the state has changed and how the electorate could be different. And you look at the fact that this is a state race and not a federal race. Um, he could catch a spark, right? He could catch a spark, and you see what we just did in New Jersey and Virginia, right? And in Georgia, right? With those PSC races and how those folks kind of laser focused in on affordability and all those different things. You know, some of that could definitely resonate in Alabama. And I just say kudos to Doug, and I'm excited that he's running because if you want Alabama to kind of catch some of that wave and that momentum that built up over years and over cycles in North Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia, you got to start somewhere. You got to actually mount credible candidates. And this is a credible candidate that we can rally behind. And let's just see, let's just build.
Well, again, governor's races are more localized
Mm-hmm.
than your Senate races, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your Senate races are usually supported when there's also a presidential race on the ballot. And so that intensifies and increases the turnout. But when we're talking about kitchen table issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's a phrase that Doug knows all too well.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about education funding. We're talking about Medicaid expansion. We're talking about economic development. We're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about states issues, right? Doug knows how to talk about it because he's more connected to folks in Alabama than Tuberville will ever be, right? First of all, I think there's allegations that Tuberville don't even live in the state. He lives in the panhandle part of Florida.
Well,
For
he has I think this is still the case. His cell phone number, like the area code is a Florida.
right.
It's a Florida area code. So
Um, Meanwhile, we can point to places where Trump won, but Trump won and there are Republican senators, but Kansas, Laura Kelly,
yeah.
North Carolina, Roy Cooper,
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
Governor Bashir.
Mm-hmm.
These are three southern states that have, Democratic governors. And um, so voters are judging governors from a different criteria than they are when they're, judging who to pick for a U.S. senator.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
I think, this, of course, are we probably going to be involved with this race in some form or fashion, right? You're from
Mm-hmm.
Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I love Alabama. We have, a great friend and client in Randall.
Mm-hmm.
We still are connected to House members and Senate members in the legislature over there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and just given his midterms as what have Democrats accomplished in Mississippi, what we're trying to continue to accomplish here in Georgia, right? You have Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all connected. And there's no reason why those three states can't work together to help build coalition to get people turned out. And I've always had a border state plan, right? You work those border lines in those places like Columbus and Montgomery, Lee County, that's right there.
Yep.
Going over to Mississippi, right? That border right there. There's a connection there about how we can build coalition and support to turn out activity on the ground. But again, and we'll consistently say this, there needs to be year-round engagement.
Yes.
Voter registration, there needs to be engagement in terms of door knocking, canvassing, town halls, explaining to people what we can get accomplished if we work together and we start now. So,
Yeah, and how the issues are impacting, right? Like Alabama, like tariffs hurt a state, like Alabama. I am certain, I don't know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, right, around the Affordable Care Act numbers, but like those healthcare subsidies in a state like Alabama, absolutely, especially when you get down into the Black Belt and the rural parts of the state. But I think you're right, right? Doug definitely is that candidate that can run the race that you need to run, because even when he was running for Senate, it was a federal race, but he stayed focused on Alabama. He talked about
yes,
Alabama. He didn't
yes,
talk
yes.
about federal being a He didn't talk about any of that. He just talked about Alabama. And so he has a Andy Bashir like quality about him as well. And Andy Bashir is the current Democratic governor
Kentucky.
of Kentucky. And so it's possible Doug, could maybe pull something together. And one last point I want to make too, just so that folks understand this about like governors races and the electorate being different. Georgia is like this too. Typically, what drives people so crazy about Democrats not winning more in the South is when you look at a state like Alabama, right? Say Trump wins it, right? But if you look at the number of Democrats who showed up, even though we lost to Trump, that raw number of Democrats oftentimes is larger than the people who vote for governor. So theoretically, you have enough just Democrats, if you turn them out to vote, to win the governor's race. You might not have enough to win a Senate race or a presidential race, but there certainly are enough Democrats based on turnout where you should be able to win some of these state races. And that's a big part of the reason why Doug got in the first place in 17. You had presidential level turnout on the
Hmm.
Democratic side, and we got a Senate seat. And if he can recreate some of that, it's possible, right? It's possible that he can get some of the turnout that he needs. And Tuberville is not a great candidate. Tuberville, not very familiar with the issues, does not have a broad depth of experience or intelligence. And you get him out there on the campaign trail, you don't know what he might say. So there could definitely be some opportunities for Doug for sure.
Well, look, I think what the governor voters are asking a few things. Can you manage a budget? Right? Can you attract jobs? Can you improve our schools? And do you understand our state's needs? And I think, and it's funny because in Doug's announcement video, he says, um, he says, Alabama folks need someone who lives here, who works here, who listens to the people of this state, and not someone who treats Alabama like a rest stop on the
Mm,
way to Florida beach house. Mm, right? So, you know, he's not afraid to throw a punch.
mm-mm.
And you kind of need that mentality when you are going up against a football coach, right? But let's be real. Like Doug's chances here, I'm gonna be, very optimistic. Tuberville has been a controversial senator. He's held up military promotions for months over a dispute about, the Pentagon abortion policy. He's made plenty of gaffes. He has he is known for not even understanding like the basic fundamental points of how government should function, right? Like,
At all.
right? He didn't even know what the three branches of government were. right? So, he may fit the mold for some Alabamians, but not all Alabamians. um,
And there might be some conservatives, right? Like a lot of times you see this in the South and really in a lot of states where people like split tickets, right? There might be a strand of voter in Alabama who say, I didn't mind Doug Jones. I don't mind him voting for him for governor and voting for a Republican for the Senate. Like they do it all the time. And again, Kentucky is a good example of that, right? With Andy Bashir. There are lots of people who voted for Trump, but then also voted for Andy Bashir because they like him as a governor. Now, a lot of those same people, because Bashir is talking about running for president, a lot of those same people ain't gonna vote for Andy to be the president, but they was fine with him being the governor. And similarly in Alabama, there are probably a good chunk of people that are fine with Doug as their governor, but probably won't vote for him to be, or wouldn't, or didn't vote for him to be their senator.
right. And again, it's all based on the circumstances. So, this is going to be a 4-quarter race, right? Like, Doug's still going to need massive black turnout, right? I
Yeah.
think with Shamari, Randall, and
Mayor Reed,
Mayor Reed, and our
Congresswoman Sewell.
Congresswoman Sewell, right? We can build that coalition, but the
Yeah.
the the, the problem also there is he's going to need a huge chunk of white college educated voters to split their ticket. We know Tuberville is going to make mistakes because he is a mistake. And he may need a scandal or two. He's probably full of those as well. But I think what does not work in Doug's favor is the party infrastructure. It is still weak.
Hmm.
Fundraising has been a problem for Democrats across the board. And again, there's a voter mobilization issue when it comes to states like Alabama and Mississippi and most southern states, right? When you get outside of Montgomery, Birmingham, and Huntsville and Mobile, that black belt needs to be strengthened. It needs to be well invested in. Resources need to be placed there.
Hmm.
In 2017 when he ran, someone asked me what was Doug Jones' economic plan for the community. I said this campaign. I said, who in this state is paying $15 an hour to go knock on some doors,
It's not a thing in
right?
Alabama because most of the campaigns can't do it. And honestly, he could have gotten away with doing that for cheaper, but he
Far
refused.
cheaper. We
He
refused,
refused. It was a values thing. So even though it added strain on his campaign, he was like, "No, we're gonna do it.
bro.
We're gonna do it."
I will never forget. We had a Morehouse kid who just graduated,
Uh-huh,
College Joe. He was in
uh-huh.
Selma. I put him in Selma, and he called me because it was his first campaign. He called and he said, "Hey, I got a few guys who said that they won't be able to come to work today. What should I do?" I said, "Well, why can't they come to work?" They said, "Well, they got their check yesterday." And they were like, "This is the first time they've been able to put groceries on the
I
table." And they
remember
just,
this story. Yeah.
right? And I said, "Bro, you tell them." I said, "It's totally fine." And I actually sent down some gift cards for them to get some extra
Yeah.
groceries
Yep.
because it's when you hear stories like that, right? Like you're reminded of why we do these things,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
right? Here were people who were proud to be able to go buy groceries for the family, and they just wanted to take a couple hours to do that. Man, go right ahead. You know what I'm
And,
saying?
and a lot of those people and by the way, that was a rural one of the things that stand out to me about that story, and I remember you telling it at the time. Hey, that was a rural community. Um, and my recollection, these were African Americans, right? Okay, so that also gets into again about the yeah, again, but again, understanding the South and understanding that rural voters are not just white and in the Midwest, right? Black people are also rural voters, right? And so when we talk about how you build your coalition in Alabama, and you actually have to be able to appeal to rural voters of all colors, right? To do that, and Doug did that and has that appeal. But a lot of those communities, right, like they're not doing better with these tariffs, right? They're not doing better by the failure to expand Medicaid. And so you start to really, if you have a very disciplined candidate like Doug, who they know and they voted for before, who can actually really hone in on those issues and talk about accountability, because Tuberville's not going to have a plan for any of those things either, right? He's going to
Right.
try to skate by just like he did in the Senate race. And so you start to kind of see how, possibly Doug can do this. And what I hope is that there's some investment, though, that comes in so he's not having to carry it himself. There was investment that came in, when he ran for the Senate, but that had less to do with them believing it, right? This was locally homegrown and led, right? The national folks only came in because of what his race, the implications that it would have for the overall balance in the Senate, right? Um, they need to come back again in this governor's race, and they need to be involved in these southern races, and that means in Alabama, because even what happened in Mississippi, that wasn't really federal, national help that did that, that broke that supermajority, the Republican supermajority in the Mississippi State Senate. Those were local folks who were fighting and standing up for themselves. And there's going to be an element of that with Doug's campaign too, here again, but they should show up. They should invest, because this is how you start to build and turn the tide, right? Georgia got more competitive. North Carolina's more competitive. Virginia's more competitive. We've won statewide races in Kentucky, but we had to start building somewhere, and it's been too long since we put that same investment in Alabama, because the numbers are there. We should not be completely locked out of all statewide and federal offices in all statewide federal offices in Alabama, and all statewide elected offices. Right, the
Yeah.
numbers
Yeah.
are there, the people are there, and the need is there. Right, there's a lot of failure of leadership in my home state.
Yeah. And so, it's going to be an uphill battle, a steep battle. I think strategically, can Doug force Tuberville to actually talk about kitchen table issues and not make it more of a social campaign, right?
Yeah, you just
If
tell old football stories.
right, can he get them to agree to some debates? Can he capitalize on the mistakes that Tuberville is going to make because he's going
Mhm,
to make them? And more importantly, are people going to help invest in that state? A little goes a long way in Alabama, right?
mhm,
Where typically, you know, TV costs a lot when you're running for stuff, particularly in places like Atlanta. TV is very inexpensive in Birmingham, in Montgomery, in
mhm,
Mobile.
mhm,
And Doug, I mean, again, he knows this. We've seen a blueprint of how you can win in Alabama.
mhm,
He also we listen. One of the things I liked about Doug, he leaned in on HBCUs and pushed for funding for them big time as senator, right? And he knew that Alabama has a huge number of historically black colleges
mhm,
that mean a lot to the state and that mean a lot to people in the South, and so
mhm, and the local economies.
and the local economies, and so
Tuskegee University is a big part of that local economy.
huge,
Yes.
huge, and
Mhm,
so
mhm,
I definitely wish our good friends over in Alabama well. Um, you know, tune in over the next 4 or 5 months to see how this is going to turn out and pan out. This won't be the first time that we talk about it. I'm sure as we enter 2026, much Tuberville will put his foot in his mouth, and this is going to be a great race for us to watch. And so it only adds to the fireside chat of the fire that we have going about Southern politics. This is a Southern Comfort podcast.
mhm.
We do talk about why politics matters and why the National Party, as well as people, should really be looking to the South as the recipe about how we can get this country back and move in the right direction. So,
Yeah, yeah. Lot of lessons from the South, and we saw that in these most recent, elections.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
the
yeah,
biggest wins in the places that demographically look like the places we need to win next year, those races were in the South, right? There's a lot we can take from Mondani. There's a lot that we can take from New Jersey, but those are safe blue areas, right? It's the wins we got in Georgia. It's the wins we got in Mississippi. It's the wins we got in Virginia. Those are the places that tell us how we need to win and build those diverse coalitions around the rest of the country, because that's what the rest of the country looks like. Those are and a lot of that leadership came in the South. And, we've said this a billion times, right, on this show. A big part of the reason why we do it is to advocate for the South. People got to stop looking past the South. Some of our brightest talent and leaders are right here in these areas and in these communities. And we can't just be a coastal party. Our whole strategy can't be, let's just try to hit a bank shot and try to win a one or two states in the West and do a bank shot and sweep the Midwest. Like, no, we need to be a party that focuses everywhere. And it just doesn't make sense to completely look past the South, right, on our bingo card for how we put together races.
Yeah,
It needs to
yeah,
stop.
agreed. So with that, I think it's time we bring this to a close, man.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be real with you, and then we just letting people know, a little bit of behind the scenes. I think it's a wonderful time to bring this to a close because my computer is about to die, and I am not near my charger. My wife, shockingly, right, is not looking at her phone and the numerous texts I've sent asking her to bring me my charger. So I think we got about I'm at about 19%. I got about 19 more percent that I can do before either we gonna end it or my computer gonna end it for us, brother.
Listen, well, your wife's getting ready to make that brine for that 72-hour turkey she gotta do.
That's all right.
Leave my girl Jill alone. Only for a minute. But again, folks, right, like we are the boys of the Maroon Bison. We really appreciate you guys for watching over these last this almost a full year, right? Like we have a few more episodes that we'll spit out before we close out. But we really appreciate it. I ask that you guys continue to spread the word.
Hmm.
We're trying to get our subscribers up. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on where you listen to a podcast. I know Spotify and Apple have our highest viewerships. But what platform you use, please spray it, tell people about it, text it out.
Hmm.
Join in, comments, likes, whatever you need to get messages to us about what you want to hear, thoughts about how we can improve it. But we really appreciate you guys for joining in. Do we have a moment for today?
I don't think so. I mean, I just wish people a happy Thanksgiving, man. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful time of year, and it's always a good thing just to be grateful.
Be around your
We
yeah.
can always find something to be grateful for.
Be around your family. I will actually going to have another foot surgery next week. So but does not mean I won't be giving you bringing you more podcasts. So we'll still be active, moving and going. So I'm just thankful for, listen, honestly, my wife, she is my rock, my best friend. And I just, that's the biggest thing I'm thankful for. And this podcast, viewership, our brotherhood, you know what I'm saying?
I would love to say we had a plan when we started this. We did not, but I will say the reaction and the number of people who walk up to me and tell me that they listen, it still never gets old. And so we're doing this, we're building it. And I'm grateful for it too. Did not have this on my bingo card for the year that we would start a podcast and that we would have done it for this
Consistently.
long, yeah, and not missed a week, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love it and looking forward to the coming year, coming episodes. We got some stuff we're working on that we look forward to putting out for you guys, and similarly, I'm just grateful for my wife, my family, everything. I don't have any complaints. And I always tell people, um, there are times when I pray and my only prayer is just thank you. I really ain't have anything to ask God for. Um, to get to those moments in life. It's not every day, right? But to just get there sometimes where you really ain't got nothing on the agenda but to tell God thank you,
Hmm.
that's a blessing. And so I'm thankful for that. right? I'm great. I'm thankful for that.
Yep. All right, y'all. I really appreciate y'all. Be blessed, be thankful, and spread love. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Peace.
All right, y'all. Peace.